Leapfrogs. I want to talk about some of your individual books, but there is a strong father-son theme through most of your fiction, certainly in Del Toro Moon, and in Finn Finnegan as well. So, what is it about that relationship of a father and son that speaks to you, that makes you want to revisit that again, book after book?
I do get asked that question a lot because, people always say, how can you write boys and how come you want to write boys? Because, well, you're not one. And I go, well, clearly not. I'm a middle aged woman. But there's something about both the master and apprentice relationship, which is a very primal one. If you look at male archetypes and you look at the patriarch and the warrior and, the king and all the different archetypes in there, that's a pretty old one. And you look at the hero's journey, your hero always has the wise mentor. And I think there is some great storytelling embedded in that very complex relationship. So whether it's master and apprentice, uncle and nephew, father and son, there's some great storytelling in there, and I'm not done exploring it quite yet. Um, there'll be other books I'll write that'll probably have girls in it, and I have written an adult series that had a strong female warrior in it, and those were fun. But I do find myself coming back to the father son master apprentice relationship. Um, it's just like people who write romance books, and in every one of their romance books they have a guy and girl falling in love, and people never say, well, aren't you done exploring that? No, because it's infinite, and the relationship, any relationship between two human beings is infinite and has storytelling embedded in it. And I draw a lot on archetypes, and those, the master, the wise mentor, and then the young hero, ancient primal archetypes. Great place to start every story.
I wanted to ask you, kind of piggybacking off that, in your guest post, "Be Like Michelangelo," which is available now at middlegradeninja.com. Everybody, there's a lot of great practical information just about what makes a middle grade book in that post. I'll make sure I link to it in this video. Make sure you check it out. But in that post, you talk a lot about character being the most important aspect of a story. And then I think of the great Robert McKee, which the writing workshops I teach roll their eyes and get sick of me talking about how brilliant Robert McKee is, but he is. Buy a copy of Story. It's amazing. It'll change your life. But one of his quotes is, oh, and how I've built it up, and I'm suddenly having a brain fart on what the actual quote is. It's, oh, character is structure, structure is character. So there's no way to determine a plot without first leaning toward character. And I take the opposite approach. I think that if you have the world's most interesting character but not an exciting plot, your story's not going anywhere. Why is it? And then there is no right answer to this, because all of art is opinion. But why is it that for you, character is the most important place to start?
Well, for me, character drives the story, and especially with kids, they have to love the character, and if they don't care if the character's in danger, um, or they don't care what kind of danger the character may be in, unless they love that character. So I always start with strong character. It drives the story. It gives us a reason to want them to get out of danger, or we want them to succeed at whatever mission they're on. So for me, strong character starts. And when I have a strong character, I find that I can ratchet up the action so much easier than when I don't have a good sense of the character. So for me, I always start with strong character. And one of the things, and I know I mentioned this before, I'm a big proponent of always starting with archetypes. And archetypes aren't the same as stereotypes. Maybe we can come back to that later in this podcast. But I like to start with an archetype and then really blend a couple of them together to come up with the character. And then once I've got my character, the second most important thing for me is their name. And I have this thing about collecting names. So whenever I hear an interesting name, I write it in this old notebook of mine by subject. Like lately, I've been collecting names that you would hear in an old Western, um, because I've got some ideas from some books I want to explore. So I collect names, and I collect
Possibly
them.
sequels to Del Toro Moon or Del Toro Moon adjacent novels?
Well, you never know. I collect names based on how they sound and what their meaning is, so that every character's name, the meaning of their name also parallels their personality. So my first series was the Griffin Rising series, and Griffin was a young guardian angel who lived among humans. And the word Griffin means strong in faith, and he was a guardian angel who had kind of lost his way. And then his mentor was the very worldly Basil, and Basil means kingly, and he was quite a kingly character. So every time I choose characters' names, there's always a reason behind it. Like Finn MacCullen is actually, well, that whole book was actually based on the Irish mythology Finn MacCullen or Finn MacCool. And so Finn MacCool, I morphed into Finn MacCullen. Gideon Lear was based on the old Welsh trickster Gwydion, but I changed it to Gideon. So every name.
Well, that makes sense. He's very much a trickster character.
Very much, yeah. So I love to change. I love to make sure the name is just perfect for each character. In Toro Moon, my latest book, which has not only a family of father and two sons who hunt monsters in Southern Day, Colorado, they have talking Andalusian war stallions that help them. And the war stallions' names I had the most fun picking out. So you have three main characters in Toro Moon who are the horses. You have the wise, avuncular figure of El Cid. And El Cid is the white stallion that Matt is partnered with, because El Cid's the most, the one with the most experience, and young Matt is the greenhorn. And El Cid is his best friend. He grew up with El Cid in his life always. And of course, El Cid was the name of the famous Spanish warrior from the Middle Ages who helped save Spain from the Moors' invasion. And El Cid is a national hero of the Spanish people and a great warrior. And so that white stallion had to be named El Cid. The father in Toro Moon, Javier del Toro, rides a big, just mean-spirited, grumpy black stallion whose name is Turk. Turk, of course, being a young warrior in the business world, the Young Turks. But it also rhymes with the word jerk, because he's so mean to the boys that Matt and his brother Ben call him Turk the Jerk. Had to have it. And then they have a third war horse who hunts with them, Isabel, Izzy, and she is a feminist at heart, and she thinks she can do just as well as the stallions, and she does. She's a great warrior. She was named after the San Isabel Forest in southern Colorado, where the whole story is set. So again, names are so important. It's from those names I start developing their personalities, and from the personality, here comes the plot. So, long story short, to me, characters will always drive the plot. The plot can be expanded if you have really great characters.